You're at the Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub, where we enjoy conversations with people who are engaged in the world of coaching.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Coaching Inn. I'm your host, Claire Pedrick, and today we're going to be talking about goals because I have for 3 years wanted to get my friend April on the podcast, and we finally made it. So, April, how did we meet?
Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so honored. We met in Spain doing the Camino de Santiago.
We did. And we met you more than we met anybody else.
Then the universe wanted us to meet for this reason, I think.
You were in front of us, you were behind
Oh, for
us.
sure. I was eating a lot of my lunches like on the beach because I was carrying it
Yeah,
around.
yeah, and then you met us in Santiago, and you were there to celebrate when we finished.
I was so happy to see you.
So we've had lots of deep and meaningfuls.
We have also some health-related conversations.
Indeed, I think you bore witness to my injury. I
I did.
remember. I remember that very clearly. And so that was part of your journey to travel to every country in the world.
Partly and partly not. It's if you want to talk about the Camino, I always felt like that was separate, but I had already
Ah, right.
been yeah, I had already been on the journey to visit every country in the world before, and I didn't really tell many people while I was on the Camino because when you're on the Camino, you're a Peregrino, and that's my last name, so it just was fitting that I was doing the Camino,
Yeah.
but I did the Camino separately for another reason, and we can talk about that if you'd like. But um, bef before I met you, I had created this goal. Okay, so maybe 7 years prior, because I just finished this goal now. So 10 years ago. So we met about 3 years ago. So 7 years prior, I had decided that I wanted to visit every country in the world. And um, obviously, during the pandemic, everyone was going through a lot of emotional ups and downs. And so I worked for my company for 25 years and decided to retire. And part of that retirement was doing the Camino because my father had just passed a few
Yeah.
months before, and always I made myself a promise saying, like, if my father ever passes, I would love to do the Camino because when I learned about it, the walkers were called Peregrinos, and that was my last name. So I wanted to honor my father and my parents. And so that's when you met me, was I was dealing with a lot of my ups and downs while we were going up and down. And I can see that
The
my
world has just
decoration
fallen
is
off your wall.
falling.
Yeah, and I remember the day that you got your credit card out to pay for something, and we found out that your name really was Peregrino.
Oh, it's so
It's,
funny because when I was checking into some of the albergues, I remember one specifically said, "Tu apellido es Peregrino, tú eres Peregrino," and I was like, "See, like your last name is Peregrino, and you're a pilgrim, you're a
a pilgrim.
Peregrino."
Yeah,
Yes. Oh, it's tu destino. It's your destiny. I was like, "Oh yeah, you'll say." Yes, I know. Thank you.
yeah,
And it really was.
yeah, it was. And it was amazing to watch you change. Because I think we met you on the second night.
Your second night, I think I might have been on the Camino maybe 10 days prior,
Yeah,
perhaps. I'm
you
not
had.
sure.
But
Okay.
it was our second night. And we had dinner in that square.
Oh, yes, that's right. Was it Bilbao?
Yeah. Yeah, close to Bilbao, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, wasn't that a long time? And then we kept meeting you, and of course, all of us were on our own personal journeys, weren't we?
Of course.
As
Yeah.
three.
I had maybe rightfully or wrongfully assumed that everyone was going through something because it was right after the pandemic sort of was lessening. So I had figured that a lot of people either had personal loss of family, friend, lover, whatever, business, all of these things are tied to your personal identity. So I think we
Yeah,
were all going through something as we walked Up and down, up and down, up and down. Gorgeous views, though.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and lots of beer, I seem to remember with you.
Oh, I, but I walked it off though every single day,
You did. You
as we all
did.
did.
You did. And we all had lovely names for people, didn't we? Because we had names for people. So we were Andrew and the English ladies.
Oh, but you were almost like a band, you know? That's
And then
right.
you were friends with Dutch Peter.
That's right. He's my Camino dad. I still call him my Camino dad. Actually, he came to
Ah,
my party and he gifted me this beautiful Camino shell.
oh wow.
Yeah, so I wore it just today because I knew we were probably going to talk about the Camino.
Of course, of course. And I flaked out of your party
No, you
because
did not. You gave
I
me a
knew what a
rightful
5 day
reason.
party I knew what a 5 day party with you would be like. So can we wind back 10 years?
Yes, of course.
What was the question you were trying to answer? What was the thing behind the global journey?
I think that's a very good question because I think it probably started happening beforehand.
Oh.
My mom passed away when I was 30, and I felt that she was rather young and had, as an immigrant, she had sacrificed her life to obviously support her family, her children, but also her brothers and sisters. So many of them came over from the Philippines. And so when she passed, I felt that uh, she had done everything for other people, but not for herself, and she didn't get a chance to travel. And so I realized life was very short. So that was 2009. And then
Mm-hmm.
2015, I read a book. I downloaded a book right before I left for Easter Island with my father. It was called Chasing 193, and it was about
Ah.
profiles of travelers, maybe 20 travelers who had visited every country in the world, or were in the quest to visit every country in the world. And there was one person mentioned at the back of the book. He was the last story. His name is Johnny Ward, and he's of Irish descent. And I was fascinated because he was still in the middle of the quest. I looked at his, statistics or biostatistics, and I thought, well, this guy is only a couple years younger than me, and I have a good salary. I have a decent work schedule. Why can this guy go to every country in the world and I can't? That was really the thinking. Like, I don't understand why this person can do it, but I cannot. And I just said, well, I'm going to do this too. Not having a clue of how to do this. I just thought, well, I'm going to do it. Why not? But by when I made that decision, I had already been traveling. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go to, my first country after reading this book.
Yeah.
My parents are of Filipino descent. So at 6, I had gone on my first flight, not to a different state, but all the way to the Philippines. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know where I missed that. Uh, oh, I see it now. And so I think, and my father was a seafarer before he became a father. So I think naturally there's some genetic alignment there. And
Yeah.
or just genetic disposition, genetic influence, I don't know, or some adventure influence. And so by the time I had decided this, I had already been to 70 UN countries, had been to all 7 continents. So it seemed only
Ah.
natural for me to think, loftily sort of said this in pharmacy school. I'd like to visit every country in the world. I had no idea how hard this would be, how much time this would take, how much money it would be, how long I would have to wait for visas, how difficult sometimes it can be for a woman that looks like me. So I just was like, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna do this. Like I had no clue. So here we are, probably about May 2015, 10 years
So
ago.
you'd already done 70, so you only had to do 123 more.
Well, I guess, but that seems very sort of
Yeah.
frightening, intimidating when you think about it. I didn't think about 123. I just thought, oh, let's just see every country in the world. So
Wow. So what did chasing that goal feel like?
I will tell you now, I'm still on a high from my party. That my party was May 1st. This is almost 3 months later, and I have never
Yeah.
felt so much love in my life for from friends and family who decided to not only spend the money and time to come celebrate this with me and my birthday, but also just for people to see that somebody that looks like me can do it.
Yeah.
Somebody that came from sort of a disadvantaged background as well. You know, when you think about it, my parents were immigrants, and what people don't understand is when you're an immigrant, you don't have the base that other people have. You have to build from scratch. And so my
Yeah.
parents spent a lot of time and their own money, educating my brother and me. And so I started with nothing. My first job was at a
Mm.
deli making $4.25. You know, now the minimum wage is
Yeah.
much more. So, but yeah, just like step by step. So I felt so much incredible love. And so I'm still on this high because every time I feel like I'm a little bit down, I start thinking about I've done this, but I've also shown people that I can do this and they can do this too, or they can fill any of their own goals. So it's just been an amazing thing. And now I'm in the last 2.5 months, I've also been to some of the travel club meetups. And so I've been honored by visiting every country in the world. And it's been incredible as well, seeing that I'm one of the only women that are few women that show up to these events, and also
Ah,
somebody again that somebody looks like me. I'm definitely the underdog. Nobody would ever expect when they meet me that I visited every country in the world. So it's been I don't want to say gratifying. It's just been very interesting take on the culture of just this niche goal, I guess.
yeah. So there's privilege in the niche goal community.
I think so. I mean, you
Mm.
obviously have to have drive and ambition, but you also have to have some kind of financial means to pay for this because it's,
Yeah.
you know, traveling is, as we all know, it is a privilege and it's not, it can be budget friendly, but over time it can add up. But, with any kind of goal, not to excuse anything, but with any kind of goal, you have to sacrifice. And I don't know how many people ask professional athletes how much they paid for X amount of camp or or CEOs how much time they've spent on their own business. So what does it matter if it's this other kind of goal?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're coming to the UK to write,
I
you
am.
tell me.
Big secret, but
Oh, sorry.
no, it's okay. I've slowly started to tell my people this because I started doing the Artist's Way uh, last week, and it's a 12-week program. It's a book, and I'm in week 2 now. And so it's really about unblocking your creativity and your mindset so you can fulfill your creative goals. And so since I was a pharmacist for in my career, um, I thought, well, this might be my only year to pursue my creativity because I suspected I will be going back to work next year. And I thought, well, this might be the only time because if I try to do this while I'm pursuing my career again, the creativity will be off to the side. So, like with any kind
Yeah.
of goal, I thought, well, I need to be somewhere where nobody knows where I'm at, can hide, because you can see I'm very extroverted. So, and not distracted. So, I am coming to the UK to write and not really disclosing to anybody where I'm going to be.
Well, I hope you're going to pass us.
I hope so. I'll let you know. But I will be spending the winter months there. So, but I'm also from
Nice.
Chicago, which makes me a little bit more accustomed to horrible winters. I think yours will be a lot milder than mine.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you're very right there, April. Yeah. So, what an amazing thing.
Thank
So,
you.
the day you arrived in your final country, what did that feel like?
Oh my goodness. I came to Vienna a couple days before to adjust possibly to jet lag, and my friend Don, who has been my travel partner since we were in Afghanistan, so that was 2018. So we've been travel partners for about 7 years. He had decided he was going to rent a car and that he would drive me over to the border. But the day he arrived, he called and he said, "Where are you at? Are you in Bratislava?" And I said, What are you talking about? You know you're supposed to pick me up tonight, right? I said, oh God. Okay. I said, "Hey, all right. Please pick me up around 8 o'clock. We will go to dinner." And then we had to pick up my last friend who was coming into Vienna so we could, and then we'll cross over the border after midnight. I specifically wanted to cross on my birthday. So really wasn't really thinking too much about what it would feel like, but I had already prepared myself by like wearing an arrival outfit about maybe 5 or 6 months prior. I went to Senegal and I had over the years accumulated all these patches that I had bought, and I found a tailor and I had him sew these patches on a pair of jeans and like a jean jacket that I had bought in Tbilisi, Georgia. And I thought, well, I'm not going to do this myself. I barely know how to sew, and this might be a little bit more affordable here in Senegal while I'm learning to play the djembe, the drum. And this guy can do it, and it worked out great. So I had already had this mentality of what I wanted to wear. And when we crossed the border, I was like watching the time religiously because I was like, I don't want to cross at 11:59. Hey, we have to cross after. I want to cross on my birthday. But I think Don might have done the logistics beforehand because he said, "Oh, I saw this one area. It looks like a border spot." So uh, when we picked up Carrie, my friend, we were like near a hotel airport, and hotel that was by the airport. So I ran in and like changed into my clothing, so I already was in the mindset. We had about an less than an hour drive, and I was watching the clock, and then we passed the border because you could see like there were buildings, and then I was like, oh my God, this is so exciting. And then we stopped because there was a sign that says Slovenko. So we were obviously in Slovakia, and then Don, who had just visited every country in the world too last year, he was like, "Oh my God, this is so fantastic! Congratulations!" And I just was in shock. I was in complete shock that I had finished because you sort of maybe think about this moment, but the moment is also fleeting, and you don't know how you're going to feel. But I don't think I was relieved. I was just like in shock, just in shock, and we took a few photos, and then after, my cousin had decided that she was going to throw me an arrival party at the hotel in Bratislava. So I thought we had still 30 minutes to go, and really it was only like 10 minutes. So I thought, oh, okay. There was another shirt I wanted to wear, and my friend Gina had my shirt, and it's of Most Traveled People. It's a shirt that you receive when you visit every country in the world. So it had 193 on it. Gina had my shirt because the MTP staff sent it, but I had not received it in Chicago yet. So because she lives in Portugal and the administrator is in Portugal as well, she got my shirt for me. So she met me outside. So I was already like, oh my God, it's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in like 7 years. This is fantastic. And Gina also visited every country in the world. So it was like
Oh,
a nice greeting. And then after Don parked, we all went upstairs and he let me go through first. And I look at the video now and I see that my cousin sort of arranged everybody by the way they met me in my life, because my goddaughter was first, and at the time she was 25, and she greeted me with two shots. And then a couple cousins were around, and then like my friends, and then like high school friends, and then like my travel friends, and now all the way at the back was Dutch Peter, my Camino dad. So it was just like this beautiful, like I was like bawling by the middle because I was hugging every single person that I had seen and met, and there was probably about 35 people here. And at the end, there was a big banner, which was back there, now fallen.
yeah.
A lot of balloons, a cake, congratulations, 193. And I was like bawling hysterically. I was so touched. It like hit me that I had finished, but not only that, I was surrounded by so many people that have like that supported me, loved me, and I, this is why I'm on a high still.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. So you're talking about your family, but you're also talking about your soul friends who you met on the way.
Yes, of course. And I've invited these people because I had been traveling for at least 10 years. So I met some
Mm.
people while traveling, and then we became travel partners or friends, and became like this little community. And then I realized I created my own community. This is so, like, even now, 3 months later, I'm still texting this like WhatsApp group that weirdly has a picture of me as the icon, and I'm like, why am I texting myself? That's weird. But like, I'll ask questions and everybody just seems to respond back, because then if I don't have an answer, I have several friends that have the answer for the person that needs the question answered. So
Nice. Nice. What a most amazing thing.
and then the next morning, I had rented a 50-seater bus, and I will explain this because not everybody knows what happened. I originally put the invitation on a wedding website called The Knot,
Yes.
and I made a joke saying, "I'm getting married to the world." So please, so the first destination is my birthday party, and it's a secret. So I called it Globetrotter Gala, but I did tell people wear what you would wear to a wedding. Nobody knew who was coming. I made the guest list private. And nobody knew anything until they might have seen the people at the arrival party, because but not everybody had been there. And so
Yeah.
around 11 o'clock, I said, okay, we're all going to meet in the lobby of the hotel, and we're going to go away, and just I'll this is the price of your accommodation. But they didn't really know what was going on exactly, so it's kind of nice that my friends trusted me, or let me be in control of my own celebration. Although I did have some friends that said, "What are we doing?" They were freaking out, and I said they were annoying me so much in like one week that I said, "Oh, well, we're recreating the movie Hostel." I don't know if you remember this movie, but it was like filmed in the early 2000s, and it's a movie about travelers that go to the to like stay in a hostel, and they eventually get murdered. And I didn't realize that this movie was also based in Slovakia.
No.
And yes, I didn't know this until I checked the IMDb like a week after the party, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is in a slow." So we get on the bus.
Can I just say, tell everybody in my Thursday supervision group, my loyalty to the Thursday supervision group meant that I didn't go to this party.
It's okay. Everybody has reasons not to join the party. I was not
It's
offended.
amazing.
I was not offended. So there's 50 seats on this bus, which includes the driver, so 49 seats, and almost all of them are filled. And nobody knows how long the time frame is, and so eventually there's a break around 2 hours. We still have 2 hours to go. This is almost a 4-hour drive. And my friend Leela starts asking people what their breakfast order is going to be for Sunday. She was helping me organize the breakfast, because by that point I had lost all drive to finish it. I was like, "Oh, I don't know what we're eating. Somebody help me." So she helped me, and it was so lovely. Anyway, so she sits in front, and we're very close to the castle, because as we're driving, we see castles here and there. And one of the greatest things about Slovakia is that it has the highest amount, or the greatest number of castles per capita in Europe. That's their statistic. I've heard differently from other friends. That's what they say. So, okay. And then we're driving on this flat road, and all of a sudden we see this humongous castle, and my friend Leela screams, "Is it?" Because I think by this point, this was like 3.5 to 4 hours in, and all my friends probably started talking, like, "What are we doing? Does anybody know what's going on?" And I didn't know what I booked. I booked everything online, so I was just going off picture. I couldn't book a party in a place that I had been to before. So everything was just blind. And I said, "Oh, wow, wow." And all of my friends, I could see them like start taking out their cell phone and start recording or taking photos. So we stop, and I say, "Okay." So we park. The driver parks the bus, and I say, "Okay, we're here, as you can see, and we are at a place called Galicia Nueva, also known
Ah,
as Halish Castle. We are partying in a castle tonight." And the bus erupted. So all my friends were game. They had no idea that I had booked a party in a castle to celebrate my last country. And I am so appreciative that they trusted me to do this.
that's amazing. How to meet your goal, April.
I think that when you create a goal like this, it requires a little bit of characteristic of being delusional. And also starting to break it down in your small steps.
Yeah.
When I first created this goal, I had no idea what I was doing. And I started following Johnny on social media, I think on Facebook, and I saw that he was in Algeria. And this was maybe a few months after, so maybe July or August. And I had read that book in May. And I thought, oh, Algeria. I've never thought about Algeria. And I immediately booked a trip. Now, I know that sounds crazy, but I will give my work background to offset this. So I was an overnight pharmacist, and that might be a little bit weird for people to think about, but in America, things are open 24 hours. And so I was working in a retail location. Uh, Actually, my company and Boots had merged. So my company was Walgreens, and I worked in an overnight location. So I worked 7 nights in a row, 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. or 9 p.m. to 7 a.m., 10-hour shifts. And then nobody wants to do a graveyard shift. It's horrible. They would the company would give us 7 days off to do
Wow.
whatever you want, to rest. And so I used that time to travel. At the time I was married, and my partner was supportive of this goal. So it didn't seem weird when I said, well, I don't know anything about Algeria, but I want to see every country in the world now, so I'll just book a trip to Algeria. Not knowing that I needed a visa, I needed to figure out how to get a visa, I needed an English speaking guide because I didn't speak any French at all. So, you know, a little research, and when you meet more people that are visiting all these different countries that you've never heard about, and maybe it's Algeria is a viable option for Europeans, but for Americans,
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody who was one who was Algerian or had visited Algeria. And this was before I knew anybody in the travel community. So I went in
Mm.
cold. Like I went in as a single girl wanting a tour by myself because I didn't know anybody to come with me. I didn't even know who to ask to who would want to even join me to some country that nobody knew anything about. Other than like, this is just like when, if people remember, people were still sort of using guidebooks and
Yeah.
also maybe TripAdvisor, but I did not have this travel community yet. So I had no information. And it took me weeks to find somebody that could help me to get an English speaking guide and also help me apply for a visa. I had no idea how to do any of these things. Even though I had applied for visas before, I
Mm.
had no idea how to do these things.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry I'm having problems with my one earbud. Um, so and then that was maybe the first trip. And then as you get comfortable, I started planning more trips. And then the year I turned 39, I decided I wanted to take advantage of um my work schedule, and I wanted to travel every other week, even though I knew the cost would be absolutely like astounding. But for me, I was probably few more years into it, so I thought I was already like fully into the goal and fully obsessed.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the whole thing, is that this starts out as a small idea, it becomes just sort of steps, and then you become so obsessed with it that
Yeah.
you can't stop, and so you can't even stop the momentum. And
Yeah.
that's where the frame is. So it's like now I'm at a point, because I've finished, like, how do I like roll this momentum back, and like how do I take care of myself and my energy so that I'm like a normal, instead of chasing like this high all the time.
Yeah. That's really amazing story. Thank you so much. And it was absolutely delightful to meet you on the way, even though we met you on a diversion.
It wasn't really a diversion because I needed to work on my mental health then. So
You
it was
did.
really just a way to, and I always tell people that the Camino saved me. It really pulled
Yeah.
me out of my depression. And I
Mm.
mean, I had a number of things that had led to that depression because my father had passed away, I had gotten divorced, I had a breakup, and then, obviously leaving work, is I left on my own accord. because I didn't want to be there more than 25 years. But that's also a loss of identity. So people don't
Mm,
understand why grief exists. But when you have so much grief and you're just walking through it, really it just pulled me out of that depression so I can work on more things on a deeper level. But I can see
yeah.
why people do so many Caminos because they've probably done worked on one thing in their life and then there's more to work on. And so
Mm,
this is their therapy.
yeah. Yeah. Really extraordinary. I can remember quite early on, we walked up a really long road. I don't know where we were. And you were on one side of the road and we were on the other, and you didn't want to talk to anybody. And we kind of waved at you.
Oh,
And
I can see that. I think
yeah,
I don't know if I was in my, I was in my head, and weirdly enough, everyone that I've met before who's done the Camino has like these great stories of all these friends, but I don't know. I didn't feel like I was meeting anybody. And
it's because you had your
honestly,
head down.
I was, and maybe I was just crying a lot. I cried a lot on the Camino. I was like listening to music and crying and just releasing so much. And
Yeah.
I think the day I met you, or maybe 2 days before, I might have like even talked to my spiritual advisor, asking like, I need help. Like I'm like I feel awful, and I've been walking for at least 10 days. She said, you need to sit with this. You've been on the go for so long, and even though
Mm,
you're walking, you're actually stable, and this is why you're releasing so much. And so that really helped to talk to
yeah.
somebody because, even though my Spanish was okay, it's not like I can go to a priest and say like, "Ayúdame," like help me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody else had their story, so it's hard to ask people to hold your story when they have their story to hold and release. And so
Mm,
I'm glad that I had my spiritual advisor to call, and that actually she helped me release a lot, so that helped me like keep going.
yeah. Yeah. And then I remember we were in a pulpo restaurant really close to the end.
I
And
love
you, me, and
it.
Margaret, do you remember we had a bottle of wine? And you said, I'm not ready to get to the end yet.
Which is probably why I did Finisterre for 3 days after.
Yes.
Who wants to hike 90 more K? Me!
Yeah. But yeah, that was extraordinary.
I wasn't ready. I was happy that I finished at Santiago de Compostela, beyond thrilled, but I knew that I still had so much stuff. And
Yeah.
after taking a few days off there just to rest and relax and, meet all of you beautiful people and just have a nice setting, we're not like eating on the go and running, it was, and just like sort of honoring the process of being together and not really understanding what has happened, but we were all like clueless in the fact that we don't know what change has happened. We know we've changed, but we know we're
Mm,
not yet ready to talk to a person who hasn't done the Camino about it.
yeah.
Yeah, I just thought, well, you know what? I still have time. I don't have to be in Chad until like this time. So what's 3 more days? And by that point I was so fit because we also did the primitivo together that I
Yeah.
thought, well, why not challenge my body? And I was kicking ass on this trail, like because I mean it was like week 7 and I was like so
Yeah.
fit. I was doing 30K per day, and
Yeah.
my legs were so strong. I was mentally strong. I was like eating healthily. I was really doing so well. So I felt, I mean, obviously it had to end somewhere, right? But I did feel more of a ending at Finisterre versus
Yeah.
Santiago. It wasn't that Santiago wasn't an ending, it was just more like, oh, I did it.
So,
Ooh.
listeners, Finisterre is on the west coast of Spain, on the Atlantic coast, which basically means that if you go any further, you're in the sea and then you're in America.
Yes, and it is literally translated to end of the earth because that's
Yeah.
where the boats would leave from Spain to go to America, apparently.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. So, April, our listeners,
Claire.
uh, our listeners work with people around goals. And you've got the most extraordinary goal. So as we finish this conversation, what would you want to say to somebody who's listening about goals?
That is a really good question. I think we can get overwhelmed with this goal in the beginning. And I also think if it's a long process, it doesn't matter what kind of goal you have. A goal like mine, a fitness goal, a business goal, financial goal, relationship goal, relationship within yourself goal, self-love
Mm,
goal. There are many days where you can feel burned out, tired, think that it's worth it. And I think the biggest thing you have to tell yourself, or the best thing you have to tell yourself, is let me manage my energy. And like, we can let this sit today. And when I'm ready to pick it up, whether it's tomorrow or next week, it won't deter me from my goal. And when you're so focused on things, I think it can feel like if you're taking a day off or taking some time off, that it's defeat, and it's not a defeat. Like, I think that when you're so focused and you don't give yourself time to do something else or rest, it can start to feel not fun. And
mm,
who wants to make their goal not fun? That's Life is so short. Why would you want to be pursuing something that's not fun? So I would say, I
mm,
think the best thing to do is just assess what your energy level is. If you need to just take a bubble bath, read, walk, just draw, do whatever else that doesn't have to do with your goal, and just distract yourself for, a day, week, an hour or two, whatever your time frame is. And once it feels right, you'll go back to it. And that's how I felt over the years. Like, I was so busy maybe chasing things and thinking, sort of being jealous of people when I see social media, like, why are they there and I'm not? And I
mm,
think the nicest thing about my depression was that I was forced to like hold back and like work on
yeah,
myself before I worked on my life goal. And
mm,
I'm also glad that I spent 6 months between my penultimate country, which was Marshall Islands at 192, and Slovakia, reflecting on all the steps that had occurred before I visited my last country. So I think
mm,
it's just time with yourself, and that precious time to manage your energy. I think that's the biggest
yeah,
thing to think about when you're managing a goal like this.
yeah. Nice. I love that last 6 month space to process. That's beautiful. So something about pacing, and also, we met when you had taken a big diversion, and the courage to do that as well. So thank you, April Peregrino,
Thank
my
you,
friend, the
Claire.
pilgrim.
Very easy to remember my name now.
So if people want to have a look at your journey on socials, where's the best social for them to look at?
The best social would be Instagram. My handle is every other week, all one word, because I used to travel every other week while I was working the other every other week. So
I'll pop that on in the show notes. Thank you, April, for
thank you
coming
so
to the
much,
coaching in.
Claire. This was amazing
Thank you.
opportunity.
Thank you, lovely listener, for listening and making us have an excuse to have a really great conversation. We'll be back next week with another episode. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank
Bye.
you.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we'd love you to share the podcast with a friend or leave a comment on social media. And if you'd like to become a regular at the Coaching Inn, you can subscribe on Podbean and all major podcast channels. We look forward to welcoming you next time. You've been listening to The Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub. For more information, check out 3dcoaching.com.